Let's get more specifically into the definitions of bioregions, and that'll help us understand how localization can become much more effective in natural solutions, green infrastructure, and reliance on these holistic technologies and combinations with local functioning of the region to bend the curve. Okay, bioregions are geographic areas defined by the intersection of ecosystem boundaries, typically things like watersheds, mountain ranges, and coastal systems, grasslands, prairies, and so forth, with human systems that have a coherent cultural identity. So if a region has been around for centuries and so on, it has evolved with the local ecosystem to have region-specific cultures and interactions with its environment. Thus, the bioregion is a scale at which to functionally manage the relations between local and global. So those cultures and those bioregions have interactions with the outside world, and that interaction is also defined in a functional relation between what they see as their bioregion versus the outside world. So knowing that context helps us better functionally manage the scales. Bioregional imagination helps inspire ideas, innovation, and civic engagement needed to create an equitable green economy with good jobs while improving community health and well-being, minimizing waste, and regenerating ecosystems. There are specific terms here like regenerating ecosystem. There is regenerative agriculture now, regenerative ecosystems, and so on. It's the extension of ideas like ecosystem-based management and so on, where every time you do something like exploiting one particular part of the ecosystem, you have to worry about the regeneration of that within the context of that ecosystem. So here is a map from this article from where I took all these definitions showing the bioregions. Okay, we won't go into specific things here, but you can see the desert here, the forest ecosystems, but within the Amazonia you have bioregions that are mountain, plains, forests, rivers, and here you have the Great Plains going up into Canada, western mountains mixed with western coastal regions, the plains in the central Indian region, shadow of the Western Ghats themselves, and so on and so forth, right? Gives you a sense that this is more than just biomes, more than just ecosystems. It is the human natural systems together. Okay, so localization has to happen with that context, and the bioregional transitions, especially under climate change, must be understood within that context as well, and we have to look at the drivers of these bioregional transitions. So localization is essentially important for carbon neutral ways for people to collectively build, dwell, and adapt in place together. So it's not like importing lots of technology to adapt, but to exploit your relation with the local environment and protect the environment, protect yourself, and together you localize the solution and watch out for bioregional transitions. So there are many examples, local scales. This is Portland, Oregon's Eco Trust. So Eco Trust advances social equity, economic opportunity, and environmental well-being for all. That's a very localized solution-based activity. Localization narrative now has a long list of tools and concepts, and obviously they become jargon even for people like us, but they are useful concepts on which to draw. Prominent examples include locavore as opposed to herbivore, omnivore, and so on. What is the local ecosystem? Locavesting, so you are harvesting things nearby. Slow floods, food justice, green infrastructure, which we will look at, adapting in place, eco districts, biocapacity, and ecological footprint, which is much broader concept we have looked at in the context of, for example, Human Development Index versus ecological footprint in terms of rich countries versus poor countries, where we said rich countries have high development index with a high environmental or ecological footprint. Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, Local Ownership and Import Solutions, Community-Based Natural Resource Management. These are kind of organizations that facilitate this concept. Relocalization and re-inhabitation are other concepts under that. The global level localization is done under the Conference of Parties, which is the decision-making entity within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And since 1995, when COP1 happened in Berlin, there have been now 25 of them. The last one, I think, actually 26 happened in Madrid as well. It was moved from Chile to Madrid, I think, because of COVID. But they have been making tremendous progress on bringing together the countries of the world which are part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and developing several agreements, including the Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Agreement out of COP15 here, Copenhagen, Denmark. That was important as well. The big failure, I think, happened in 2009, which was the Copenhagen, actually. Okay. So on and so forth. And there are out of COP also came things like Paris City Hall Declaration, which was a decisive contribution to COP21, created Climate Summit for local leaders in Paris. This is what I was looking for. And COP24 went further and strengthens the climate action of local communities and indigenous people. So you can see the intended goal of UNFCCC is, of course, a global action on climate change, but localization is happening from these global platforms. There are other entities like Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. We will look at C40, the cities fighting against climate change, the New Urban Agenda, and so on. So we will look at specific things about each of these, but these are examples of real local entities like EcoTrust and global entities that localize, like Conference of Parties, and a combination of things like C40, which are local actions coordinating at global scales. Awareness is high, eagerness to act is high, but how well are we doing in terms of bending the curve? That's always the overriding question for us in this course or in real life, right?